Very good morning to all of you. Today's topic is about the concepts of next generation databases. So before starting the topic, first I would like to start with the entity relationship model. The database management system was started with entity relationship model, and why we have started with entity relationship model, because this entity relationship model, or in short we call it as a ER model, it's relatively easy to learn and use. And ER model shows a concise representation of the real world in terms of entities and the relationship. And we also use how to translate entity relationship diagrams into relational schema, and most of the cases it supports one or more variation of entity relationship diagrams. This entity relationship diagram, or you can say the entity relationship model, ER model, was invented with by Peter Chain in 1978. It is used as a representation. It is having representation constraints and the operations. So what is the representation in entity relationship model? So in entity relationship model, we are having two terms, entity and relationship. So the three main concepts of ER modeling at a lower level, that is having, we should have some entity, there may be some relationship, and there may be some attributes. So entity, relationship, and attribute, these are three main concepts of any kind of entity relationship modeling. So here, what is entity? It is important to know entity. So entity is a any real world object. Entity is a any real world feature that about that we are going to collect the data set. Entity may be of two types. It may be regular entity that is having its own identifier, or it may have weak entity, that it means that its identifier is the concentration of the identifier of the owner entity and its partial key. And also it is very important to know the relationship. When we are having entity, means we are having different earth objects, we are having different real world features. So there may be some kind of relationship between different real world features or real world objects, and the types of the relationship between different real world objects or real world features may be defined by the degree, that is having recursive relationship, binary relationship, and ternary relationship. So whatever the relationship we are having among the entities, it may be defined by its degree. It may be recursive, binary, or ternary. Now, in entity relationship model, there is also a term constraint. Constraint may be of two types. It may be the cardinality constraint, or it may be the participation constraints. Cardinality may be of three types, as we know that one-to-one. If one entity is having direct relationship with another entity, that is one-to-one relationship. If one entity is having relationship with multiple entities, that is one-to-n relationship, and it is also known as cardinality. And if many entities having the relationship with many entities, that it is known as m2n relationship. So there may be the cardinality. Cardinality means the type of the relationship between different entities. It may be one to one, it may be one to many, or it may be many to many. Also there is a constraint because of the participation. It may have mandatory or partial. Okay, if the constraint is participating as a total, then it is known as mandatory part constraint and partial constraints. Entity constraints, the identifier of an entity that cannot be null, it is having weak entity constraints. The concatenated identifier of the weak entity or existence the dependency. So entity constraints may be defined on the basis of the identifier of that entity, and we should have some entity constraints that is having weak entity and the concatenated identifier of the weak entity or existence of the dependency. Now operations. So in entity relationship model, there are different kinds of operations. So we need to know what kind of operations we are going to use in developing any entity relationship model. It's inherent modeling, it's inherent operations in any entity relationship model. There maybe have many research that propose that automatically navigate the entity relationship diagram to process the query. However, since we use the entity relationship diagram as a high level designing tool and translate the ERD into RDB, then they are not important to our discussion. So we can easily transform entity relationship diagram to the relational database. So it's a, you can say it's a facility provided by entity relationship diagram. So we can easily convert that entity relationship diagram into relational database system. So what is relational theory? What is the relational database management system? So the relational database management system was invented, it was started in 1970 by E.F. Codd. It is having also some representation. It's a single main concept of relational database management system that can be viewed as a table having the columns and the attributes or table. Okay. In a relational database management system, the entire data sets are stored in the form of table. That table may have some columns and some rows. So the columns are considered as the attributes and the rows or the number of rows are considered as the tuples. It's a high level of logical structure of database which is called a database schema. And the single table structure is called a scheme. But in a relational database, there is also some constraints. The three basic types of constraints in relational database management system is primary key constraints, that is having its uniqueness and minimality. Some entity related constraints are there. It may be some kind of relationship that cannot be null. It can be represented, it can be described by foreign keys. There may be some referential integrity constraints. It's a kind of value of a foreign key if it is not considered as a null, and it must exist in an original relationship. So it is all about the relational theory. And now it is very important to note that the basic integrity constraints that cannot be automatically enforced at data definition language level by commercial database system. So there may be some application dependent constraints that may or may not be enforced at the DDL. DDL means data definition languages. Before starting any database management system, we have to first start with the data definition language. We need to define the database. Then after that, we can go for different kinds of operations. We can go for different kinds of processing on the database. And operations for a relational database management system are formalized by some relational algebra, and it is implemented in the structured query language. So in a relational database management system, there are three basic operators that can support any kind of query. When we are going to work on any query, when we are working on query processing, so the basic three operators that can be used in relational database are select, project, and join. So other set operations that is used for the RDB query processing are union, intersect, and the minus. And it is also having some other variations that may include the left, right, the full, outer join, and recursive join operations in the relational database management system or RDB. Okay. So now we are going to see what are the next generation databases and what is the characteristics of next generation databases. So in this slide, we are going to see, we will briefly describe at recent trends in the database technology, what are the different database systems which will be came in the next decade, that is referred to as a next generation database system. So the characteristics of next generation database system is written here, that it should have some rich data model, means that all the new data models or all the next generation databases will have more data modeling components in comparison to the previously developed entity relationship or relational data model. Like when we can say that object oriented database, multimedia database, or we have some choice for the structure and designing of our database. The next generation databases should be highly distributed. It should be heterogeneous environment, and it is having self-installing, self-managed, and highly robust capabilities. And there may be also the facility for the automatic coordination of different databases for any kind of next generation databases. It should have large storage capacity. It should have large memory that will have more RAM, Many commercial database systems will have petabytes or more storage capacities. The components of database management system may be built by buying some components. As we buy some components, it is supported by the portable database management system. We should also need to have public interfaces. It should have high level environment, means it should support high level query languages. It should work on the high level query processing, and that can support the tools, and it is having some intelligent processing system. So these are some properties of the next generation database systems. So now, what are the technologies? What are different technologies that are developed for that next generation databases? So it is started with some traditional database technology like the extension of the relational database management system, semantic data models, 4GL and case. Then there may be some object-oriented technology that is having object-oriented database management system, object relational database management system, and object-oriented programming that is very much rich in the data model. It's a natural representation and development, integration, productivity of different components of the database. The technologies that are used for next generation database having some knowledge based techniques, like we have some expert database management system that may include some interface. It is based on the artificial intelligence technology. We should also have some tools for the user interface, and there may be some advanced data mining techniques and knowledge acquisition processes. Hypermedia, the multimedia database management system, is another type of technology that can be used for next generation databases. This multimedia database management system should have a good user interface, user friendly interface. It should support multimedia database, like it should work on the audio, video, image files. It should also support the geospatial data sets or geographic information system. It should also having some video on demand and other, you can say, the large data sets or object oriented data sets. The online information retrieval is another important technology that can be used for next generation databases. It should have some text databases, it should have some information retrieval and intelligent retrieval for that system. There is a requirement of inherent networking and distributed systems, that is World Wide Web. WWW interface is also required for next generation database system. It should have some internet connectivity that is heterogeneous. There may be resource sharing, robust and automatic coordination, legacy systems, client and server. There may be mass storage in the form of optical disk, scanning, electronic publishing. There may be the support from the digital library, digital information system, or there may be some other trends. There may be some other standards that can be used for next generation databases like SQL, OMG, ODMG, Corba, DCOM. Okay, and there should also having some high level environment that may be supported by some tools, some advanced tools. There may be some databases that can be used for public in the form of public interface. There may be some interoperable and portable databases for any kind of next generation databases. It should have larger memory, parallelism, and it should have new applications like data warehousing, some electronic commerce, healthcare systems, or EOSDIS. Okay, so these are some of the recent technologies. These are some technologies that can be used for the development, and that can be used for the describing next generation databases. Normalization is an important process in case of database management system. So the basic concept of normalization is based on the functional dependency, or we call it as a FD. Okay, the functional dependency includes the definition and semantics of the database. Functional dependency can be considered as a integrity constraints. It may have some unstrong axioms and minimal cover. It is having lossless join and spurious tuples. It is having some normal forms like numbers in the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is having multi-valued dependencies like 4NF and join dependencies and 5NF. So there is a practical way to use the normalization process in database management system, and there is also denormalization techniques is present for that database. So what is the normalization process? How we can define the normalization process? So basically the normalization process is used to design a highly desirable relational schema using some relational theory. Okay. In the process of normalization, we design a highly desirable relational schema using some relational database system. So this process is known as normalization. Okay. And so why we are going to use normalization? What is the need of the normalization process? As all we know that all the normal forms are the guidelines for the relational database design. When we are working on the normalization process, it means we are having the facility to normalize the relational database design for minimizing the data redundancy. As we know that in some cases there may be the data redundancy. So data redundancy should be minimized by applying the normalization process, and this normalization process also helps to avoid some potential inconsistencies in our database. So these two important facts, that is very important, and these two facts are the factor, that's why we are using the normalization process. And normalization process can predict the behavior of the database systems. It can also used to avoid the anomalies during the updation of the database. When we update our database, so there may be some anomalies. So these anomalies may be avoided. These anomalies can be avoided by the normalization process. So it's very important in database management system, and we should also apply normalization process for any kind of database to avoid the data redundancy and to avoid the data inconsistency. Okay. So what if we don't normalize our database schema? Okay, if you are not normalizing your database, and if you have started your database schema without normalization process, so in that case the database will have the following anomalies. It may have some insertion problem, deletion problem, and update problem. Insert, delete, and update, these are the operators of the data manipulation language. Data manipulation language is data manipulation includes insert, delete, and update process. And if we don't normalize our database, if we don't normalize our schema of the database, so there may be some anomalies in the during the insertion, deletion, and updation process. Okay, two database schema. Two database schema means we are having two databases, and we can easily work on the joining of these two databases. So one database is related to the staff information, that is having staff number, staff name, the position of the staff, salary, branch number. Then another table, another schema of the database, another database schema is of the branch. So we can merge, we can combine these two database schema into a single database. That is the process of the joining of two databases. So this is very important to you see that joining operation can work on two or more than two database schema. So what are the hierarchy of the normal forms during the normalization process? What kind of hierarchies can be used? So the the normal forms from less strict to more strict. Like when we are going to use the normalization process, when we are working on the normalization process, so it may have different kinds of normalization: 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, BCNF, 4NF, and 5NF. Okay, so the normalization process or the normal forms from less strict to more strict is written here, and we can directly decompose into BCNF or 3NF without going through 2NF. So it is very important to note that the BCNF process of the normalization, that is Boyce Court normal form, it's a type of normalization process It is a variation of 3NF, and in most of the cases 3NF and BCNF are the same, and we will not discuss it in the course. It is not in our syllabus, so we are just going to see different forms of the normalization, different normal forms. Okay, now it is very important to see. Now we are going to discuss functional dependency. Functional dependency is one of the important property of next generation databases. In short, we call it as a FD. FD is a way of representing the relationship among the attributes in a relationship. As we know that in a relational database or in any kind of database, there may be some attributes, and all the attributes, or you can say there is a relationship between among different attributes. So how we can represent the relationship among all the attributes in any kind of relational database? It's known as functional dependency. So the notation for functional dependency is written here: x double dash greater than y. So this symbol is known as functional dependency. This symbol represents the functional dependency where both x and y can be group of the attributes x LHS, y RHS, left hand side and right hand side. These two are the databases. Both the databases are can be considered as a group of the attributes, and these two are having some relationship. The relationship among the attributes of these two groups of data sets are represented by functional dependency. It is represented by this symbol. So we can say that x uniquely determines y, and for a given value of x, there is at most one value of y that is associated with x at that time. Okay, moving to the next slide. This is an example. Is suppose we are having a relational database having A, B, C, D, E, F, and the data instances are follows like A, B, C, D, E, F. Then parallelly we are having different A, B, C, D, E, F are the columns, and the rows are A1, A2, A3, A4. These are the rows, or you can consider as a tuples. This is the simplest example of the relational database, and which one is valid. So based on the relation above, which of the following FDs are valid? So we are having four options: A to C, C to A, B to E, C to D, D to F, BD to E, and CD to E, and F to B. So on the basis of that example, this is an example, we are having four options. We need to check which one is having valid functional dependencies for all the available options. So the selective answer is that when we talk about the first option, that is A to C, this is a true, since for each A1 value we have the same C1 value, and it is important to note that it does not matter that both A1 and A3 ends up with the same C1. So this is similar to the fact that two different employees may have the same age. Second option, that is C to A, this is false because C1 maps to both A1 and A3, and the example of A and B shows that the functional dependencies are not symmetric. That's the fact. There is a fact that A to C is true, and it doesn't mean that C to A is true. B to E is also true, C to D is false, and another option, that is BD to E is a true because we are having two attributes in the left hand side, and we have to consider the pair of values together as a single of the LHS. And C D to E is also false. So out of all the options available, we are having only one, two, three options are true, and rest of the options are considered as the false. The functional dependencies in a given relation are determined by the semantics of the relationship, and it may not be by the data instances. Functional dependencies in any kind of relational database, in any kind of relational table, are determined by the semantics of the relationship in that table. For an example, this is another example. We are having the table, we are having the database having the name, the teacher, course, and text. So this is the name of the teacher, course, the taught by the teacher, and the text. This is an example. Now we are going to work how we are going to see how functional dependencies are worked in that case. So teacher looks to satisfy text to course, since each text ends up with the different courses. So however, it does not semantically make sense to determine the course by the textbook, since two different courses could use the same book. So text to course relationship is false. However, another instance that can be used to disprove a functional dependencies like teacher to course. Okay, so the correct functional dependencies of this relationship is teacher plus course to text, and what else and can disproved from the above data instances. Functional dependencies as an integrity constant. For an example, where is an example of the work, it is having employee number, department, and the location. So functional dependencies of work are the employee number to the department and department to the location. This is another example. Suppose they are having a table named as work that is having the following three instances: employee number E1, E2, E3, department D1, D2, D1, and the location market, Walnut, and the market. So we are, which on the basis of that example, which of the following are valid, which are the following are invalid, and what is the reason for the validation and invalidation of any option. So it is here a hint is given that we should first check whether or not your insertion or update would violate any existing functional database. So we have insert option for E1 and E5, and update D1, D2, D3, and the location is Walnut and market. The solution for insertion: first, insertion is invalid since doing so would violate the FD functional dependencies, that is department to the location. And the second insertion is also invalid since doing so would violate the functional dependencies, that is employee number to the department. The third insertion is allowed since doing so does not violate any functional dependencies. So for this, so the solution for the update option is that it means that changing the market to Walnut, this update the violation of the functional dependencies between the department and the location. And the third update is insertion and the valid. This is another example of how we can use relational database, relational table, and functional dependencies. So there is only one customer for each loan, which means a loan cannot be checked out but the husband and wife together, for an example. It means for each loan there may be more than one customer. So how to find a proper functional dependencies? So we have list only most direct functional dependencies, not indirect functional dependencies. List only non-trivial functional dependencies, and do not include the redundant attributes in an functional dependencies in either LHS or RHS, that is right hand side or left hand side, and it is having redundant attributes in left hand side. So there is another example from the book, having some book that is name, SSN, birth date, address, number, D name. Okay, and the valid FDs in this relation are SSN to E name, birth date, address, and D number, and D number to D name, D mergent, and D loss. Transitive dependencies. Another type of dependencies are transitive dependencies. It is short, call it as a TD. If A to B and B to C, then A to C is called a transit dependency. If there is a dependency, if there is a functional dependencies between A to B, and B to C, so A is also having some functional dependencies to C. So such kind of dependencies, such kind of process is known as transitive dependencies or TD. Okay, so how to find a TD in the above employee department option? There is an example of having the details about the employee and department. One transitive dependency is SSN D name, since SSN D number and D number to D name. Two other TDs are SSN, that is D mergation, and SSN to D loss. Armstrong axioms, it's a theorem that is based on the Armstrong's axiom, are sound and complete. We will not discuss the details of the Armstrong's axiom here. The six axioms are used in manipulating the functional dependencies to remove or to avoid any redundancies. That redundant attributes in each functional dependencies at finding the candidate keys. Okay, so just note the meaning and importance of the theorem summarized below. By sound, we mean that any result that is derived by applying the Armstrong axiom is always correct. And by complete, we mean that Armstrong axiom can derive all the functional dependencies that are necessary for the computation of normalization. For an example, if we find all the candidates key by using Armstrong axiom, we can easily compute, we can easily estimate the minimal cover of the relations using Armstrong's axiom. So minimal cover F of the relation R, a set of FDs such that there is no redundant attributes in any of these, there is no redundant FD in F. So the importance of the minimal cover is that we need to compute the minimal cover before we apply any normalization algorithms. Thus, our normalized schema will not have any redundant attributes and will not have any relationship that come from the redundant functional dependencies. So what is the candidate key? CK and FDs. The CK can be determined for all the attributes of any relational table, that is A, B, C, D, E, F. Suppose we are having two candidate keys like CK is equal to A and BD, then A is having functional dependencies to B, C, D, E dot F, and BD to A, C, E, and F. This is about the candidate keys or CK in case of functional dependencies. So what are the algorithms can be applied for finding a key? So once we find a minimal cover, we can find a key using the following algorithms. We should work on finding the attributes that is not appearing in the right hand side of any functional dependencies. Then these are the part of any candidate key, and we should check whether they can be determined for all the attributes by using any functional dependencies, or if it is not there, if it is not the case, what other attributes do I need to add to determine all other attributes. So these are the this is the basic algorithm for finding a key in case of functional dependencies. This is an example of showing how we can use a relational table for finding the uh, key CK in case of functional dependencies. So finding a key, S name does not appear in the right hand side, so yes name must be a part of the key. Since yes name is having functional dependencies or ADDR, and that is having some functional dependencies on JIP, so we know yes name is having some functional dependencies on ADDR and JIP. So but S name alone cannot determine any more. So how we can determine item and price? So if we are having the item, then we can determine the price. Okay, so this is the way in which we can satisfy the definition of the key. This is an example of finding a key for relational table, that is ABCD. Okay, so these are some functional dependencies: A to C, B to D, and C to D. And A to B is having different options: B to C, A to D, and D to A to B, D, and D to A, and C to D. The answer is AB. AD, note that A and D are in one-to-one relationship, since A to D and D to A is having some functional dependencies. And also CA and CD, in case of CA and CD, it is note that A to D and D to A is true. Looseless decomposition and spurious tuples. So decomposition means dividing a table into multiple tables, and if the decomposition is looseless, if it is possible to reconstruct a table or relational table R from decomposed relation using some join. So the conditions for looseless join where R decomposed into new multiple tables like R1, R2, Rn. So R is equal to R1, R2, R3, where the symbol means join operation. This symbol means join operation. So this symbol shows that the tables that is obtained by dividing the main table R into different tables means they are having some join operation. Why we need to perform the looseless decomposition? Because of the maintaining the accurate database. To maintain the accurate database, we work on the decomposition, and it can cause the wrong answers for the queries. And how to check? So it is sufficient if any Ri contains a candidate key of R when we use the normalization algorithm for 3NF and BCNF. This means that if any of the decomposed relation contains a CK or PK of the original table, then the decomposition is called looseless. This means that by joining all the decomposed relationship, we can reconstruct the original relationship. So if there is no loss of any data, if there is no loss of any table during the decomposition process, so such kind of decomposition is known as looseless decomposition. And if we reconstruct by combining all the sub tables of the main table, and we construct when we can reconstruct the original table, so this is known as looseless decomposition process. This is an example of having the table with the loan information, that is having account number, having some balance. Okay, so the possible decomposition may be relational table 1 having loan number and AMT, and relational table 2 that's account number and balance. So the decomposition is not looseless since R1 or R2 does not have a candidate key. It is important to note that we cannot correlate L number and the account number. This is another example of showing how we can work on the decomposition process on the table. This is a table showing the work that is having employee number, department number, and location. There is functional dependencies between employee number and department number and location. So the key is having employee number, since employee number is having functional dependencies or department and location. So during the decomposition process, we are having sub tables, two tables R1 R2, that is first table R1 having employee number and department, second table R2 having department and the location. So the decomposition is looseless since R1 contains a candidate key, and when we combine R1 R2, then we can construct the original table. That's why it is considered as the looseless decomposition. Spurious tuples. Spurious tuples are those that appear in the result of loose decomposition, but that do not exist in the original relation R. And for that, this is an example: ABC, A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B1, B2. These are a relational table, and when we are going to work on the loosey compression, on looseless compression, so we are having different tables: R1, R2, R3, R4, and each table having some data, each table having some information. So such kind of process is known as spurious tuples. Okay, so how to perform the joining between two tables R1 and R2? This is a symbol of the joining operation between two tables, and now again we can join the decomposed table to construct or to reconstruct the original table. So the two tuples with the star symbol are spurious tuples that do not exist in the original relation R. We have to perform the joining between different tables R3 and R4. The result should be the same as the original table. So why does R1 join R2 cause loosey decomposition and the result in the spurious tuples? Because the decomposition of R into R1 and R2 does not follow the functional dependencies, and the functional dependencies in case of relation table R are A to B and B to C. So during the decomposition process, it follows the functional dependencies that are having looseless decomposition as shown in the relational table R3 and R4. It means that when we normalize, we decompose based on functional dependencies and not randomly. And after the decomposition, one of the decomposed relation Ri must contain a Ck that to be looseless. So this is all about the properties and functions of the next generation databases. And thank you very much for today's class. We will meet again in the next class with the next lecture. Thank you very much.